I myself, not with my husband, but myself had met Rabbi Shlomo Schwartz and had told him that I really needed a Hebrew school for my children. Our children at that time, who were 9 and 7 or 8 and 6 or something like that, had been going to Hebrew school at Stephen S. Weiss Temple, and were not getting what we knew to be authentic Judaism. We wanted them to know that there was a God, and they were not hearing that. So I said to Rabbi Schwartz, I need somebody who's going to teach my children, but is not going to pressure them about being religious. He said, oh, Rabbi Levitansky.
The first memory I have of Rabbi Levitansky is right when I was a few months before I was bar mitzvah, and he gave me my Rabbeinu Tams, my second pair of tefillin that I wear every single day. And every time I put it on, I think of Rabbi Levitansky. And I remember sitting with my parents in my living room and getting that special gift from him.
I don't recall exactly the year, but I used to live here in Santa Monica on 4th Street in Washington, and went to the shul on the boardwalk in Venice because it was a nice walk all along the ocean. And one time on Rosh Hashanah, I walked back from shul to where I live on 4th Street in Washington, and I see a Yehudi, Yehudi with a beard and potek, dressed like a rabbi, and he had a shofar sticking out of his side pocket, vest pocket, and I walked over, introduced myself, and it was Rabbi Levitansky. He was looking for Yehudim to cause them to do the mitzvah of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah.
So we left our synagogue and we were looking for a place to go, and the girls needed to go to Hebrew school, but we were not Shomer Shabbat. And our son, who was inspiring us to do things, but we started and we sent the kids to Hebrew school at Chabad, and they got really inspired by Rabbi Levitansky and family and everybody there.
Growing up, I went to Chabad schools. I went to the Cheder for kindergarten through 6th grade. I went to Chabad of Westwood, and so the siddur that I used was the Chabad siddur, and so I was generally familiar with how a Chabad shul runs, but I didn't identify as Lubavitcher. My family had definitely, there's one member of my family who called themselves a Chabad sympathizer, but we didn't identify as Lubavitchers, and it was my connection with Rabbi Levitansky that slowly over the years changed that.
Coincidentally, what had happened was that previous Yom Kippur, I had taken the children to, what's the park called in Santa Monica? No, it's somewhere in Santa Monica, Lincoln Park maybe, I don't know. And I saw a bunch of people coming out of the Miles Playhouse, and I saw this young man that I knew, and I said, what's going on? And he said, Yom Kippur services, which we had been to at Stephen Wise that lasted a half an hour. And so
those were the good old days.
And so I said, who's the rabbi? And he pointed over to this really comfy, funny looking guy over there, and he said, that's Rabbi Levitansky. And I said, wow, that's who, so I must have spoken to Rabbi Schwartz before. That's who Rabbi Schwartz wants me to meet, to find out about Hebrew school for my children. So I made a decision, and I called up Rabbi Levitansky, I think the day after Yom Kippur, maybe, or 2 days after, and I introduced myself, and I explained that we're not religious, and that I wanted my children to have authentic Judaism, but we were never going to be religious. We were never going to keep kosher. My son was never going to wear a yarmulke. And please do not ever bother my children about these things, but can they come to your Hebrew school? And he said, absolutely no problem. He said, of course, and I'm not going to bother your kids at all about this stuff.
As a matter of fact, about that same time, it was shortly after I moved to Santa Monica, I wanted to find out where to buy kosher meat, and I asked him, and lo and behold, the next thing I knew was he delivered a whole carton, a cardboard box full of kosher meat. And I said, I just wanted to know where to buy it. So this was the type of person he was. And altogether, it was an example of a true Yehudi and a true Chassid, not only true Chassid of the Rebbe, but Chassid in the sense the way the Gemara speaks about a person who does chesed, kind things, makes it his life task to do kind things for other people. And this was Avremele. We all called him Rav Avremele because he was a very Hamish rabbi and easy to talk to and so forth.
So when I told at the time my wife-to-be that Rabbi Levitansky, that I would really love if she agreed for him to be the rabbi that marries us, she didn't know much about Rabbi Levitansky at the time. But once she met him and got to know him, it became a no-brainer. She just saw the sweetness and the kindness and the understanding of not, okay, we're two Jews and the rest is we'll just figure out. He wanted to truly get to know us, and she felt that he wasn't your typical rabbi that just kind of signed on the dotted line, but more about let me get to know you and Tzvi and how you guys mesh. And then he started kind of laying the rules of the game. It wasn't every single person follows in the same line, in the same box. That's what made Rabbi Levitansky so special is without compromising halacha, he moved the box around in order for us to maximize our, I don't know if you want to say potential, but to make us feel as comfortable and excited for our wedding as possible. And an example of that is I was really ideal at the time about having a chuppah outdoors. My wedding was in February, and my wife was very nervous about it because her hair and the makeup and being outdoors. And sure enough, it was pouring rain, biggest rain of the year. And it was all set up to be outdoors. The morning came, florists were there, ready to set up. And Rabbi Levitansky gets a phone call from my mother-in-law in a panic, saying, I don't care, this has to be indoors, everyone's going to get wet, blah, 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 it's not right. And Rabbi Levitansky saw the tension going on. And he also knew that I was on antibiotics and I was under the weather. So in the special way he does things for Shalom Bayis, and at the same time, to make this work out where everybody can feel comfortable. Tzvi, you're on antibiotics, you can get sick, it's not healthy, we're having it indoors. And everybody was happy with that.
Okay, so it was Purim, and Rabbi Levitansky asked, he says, is there anyone at home who's sick or that hasn't heard the Megillah? And so he said, yes, Nathan is at home. He goes, good, I'll come. So he showed up at our house with one of his daughters. He goes, where's Nathan? I said, he's in the back. So Nathan goes in the back, or Rabbi Levitansky goes in the back of the house to get him. And so I was talking with his daughter, and I said, well, Nathan is really stubborn. I don't think he's going to come listen to the Megillah. And so Rabbi Levitansky's daughter said, my father is pretty stubborn, and I think he will come out. And about 5 minutes later, Rabbi Levitansky comes out, and I thought, well, I guess Nathan's not coming. And right behind him, Nathan came out and heard the Megillah. So yes, he did come to our house to read the Megillah to Nathan.
To Miriam also.
So it was quite an accomplishment to get Nathan off the computer and come hear the Megillah.
It was starting from the summer of '98 when it was between school years at Eula and continuing until just before my marriage, that I would learn with him. When I was in school, I would learn during the summer on Fridays, and when I was not in school, then it would often be every week. So, for example, there was one Farbrengen that Rabbi Levitansky led, and I attended, and there was another person who was there, and this person said to Rabbi Levitansky, "Tell Ami that he should learn 3 prakim of Rambam every day." And the person bugged Rabbi Levitansky a bit about it, but Rabbi Levitansky never said that to me. So I felt that hands-off approach, that approach of letting me decide for myself, was the one that worked in the long run. In the short run, I didn't learn three chapters of Maimonides' Code every day, but in the long run, it gave me a more solid identity, and as a Lubavitcher, and it also prevented me from having a feeling of something being foisted upon me.
Shana came back from Hebrew school at Chabad House and told Lori and I, she says, "Did you know that Jews were persecuted and weren't allowed to study Judaism? Can you believe that?" We said, "Yeah, we know that." She goes, "Then why am I going to a secular school? Why aren't I going to a Jewish school?" And that's when Shana decided that she wanted to go to Yavna. She wanted to go to a Jewish school.
Yeah, she said people hid and died and wanted so badly to have a Jewish education, and she can have one. So why doesn't she get one?
He actually came to Shana's graduation from Yavna, and afterwards he said he was very impressed with the graduation. And I said, "Why?" He says, "Because Yavna is very, very religious. However, they gave every graduate $1, like the Rebbe would do when he would come." So he was very impressed with the graduation.
And he came. That was very beautiful.
Yes.
When I called him and told him that we decided we were going to keep kosher, it wasn't like he had a prize, like he had won anything. I said, "Okay, we decided we're going to keep kosher." And he said, "Okay, what can I do to help you?" It was never like he had won the contest. There was never any pressure at all. And that's what enabled us to be able to come closer.
But he did come over to help us kosher our kitchen and to kosher our pots and pans. And I will never forget being in Santa Monica in this rental house and him coming with a flamethrower. And we had these cookie sheets that were made out of stainless steel. And by the time he was finished with them, they were like tin foil. You could bend them any way you wanted.
And our neighbors the next day said, "What was going on in your backyard? We kept seeing these flames."
And hearing whoosh, whoosh.
And speaking of the wedding, we were delayed. The photographer got there late because of the weather and traffic. And everything started getting pushed off and delayed. And when it came time to sign the ketubah, it was becoming an issue of signing it before sunset, and I'm not going to be married until after sunset, so it doesn't really line up. So we decided to delay things a little bit longer, and we signed it after sunset, and we got married, beautiful. And I remember looking a few days later at a picture of the Rebbe that I had when I met him, and in the back it was dated exactly, didn't even know, 10 years to the day that I got married, 10 years earlier, based on that delay that was caused. And we could have rushed it, but Rabbi Levitansky said, let's slow things down. Let's relax a little bit. Everyone have a good time. The band is already paid for. And there is no person, no rabbi, no man in our generation, in my world at least, in Los Angeles, that it was as understanding and kind and spiritual. He was the most righteous, pure man that I have ever met, hands down. And that's what he cared about. And that was his biggest flaw, that he was so sweet and so kind and so righteous that he never asked me for $1. Never asked me for $1. And you walk into his shul, you saw he didn't know how to ask a guy for $1. And if somebody was asking for $2 and all he had was $1, he gave him $2. And he was a very, very special man. He still is a very special man. He's always in our lives daily.
Tell just a short story that I heard from my father, Alav Shalom. And as we say, by a chasana, there comes the neshamas, comes the souls of at least 3 generations back. So my father obviously is here. So this is a story that he was told, and it's important for some of the people that are here. There was once a shul in Europe, as usual, having problems. And one of the things they couldn't do is they couldn't get a floor. They didn't have enough money to build a floor. And no matter what they tried, they couldn't do it. So one time the Rav decided that when most of the people were there, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, he got up and he said a drasha. He got up and said a speech. And the speech that he said was that when Mashiach was going to come, all of the Jews from all over the city are going to come together and they're going to gather in the shul. And the Mashiach is going to take the shul and put it on the clouds of glory, and that's going to be transported to Eretz Yisrael with all the Yidden in the shul. He says, but what happens when the Yidden come in the shul and there's no floor? And Mashiach picks up the shul, and there's no floor to the shul, Chas v'shalom, so the Yidden are going to remain standing there, and the shul is going to go empty to Eretz Yisrael. As soon as the Yidden heard that, they obviously realized that they got to put together the money for the floor. I have here people that have participated in seeing to it that Chabad of Simcha Monica should be where it is. Very, very dear friends of mine. I'd like to thank them for it. And as we say in Hebrew, that this is thanks for what was, and this is again asking for what will be, to see to it that the Chabad should not only be there, should not only be part of the Rebbe's domain, but it should also be beautiful and should have a roof and the floor and the walls and all of the good things that go along with it. And Hashem should help them, that they should be able to give rechava, they should be able to give in abundance, together with gezund and nachas and only simchas and only joy. And may Hashem help us all, that all of the Rebbe's brachas should all be mekuyim.
The